In recent years, podcasts have exploded in popularity, transforming what was once considered a niche hobby into one of the most influential forms of media today. What started as a small community of audio storytellers has grown into a global phenomenon, with millions of podcasts spanning every conceivable topic, from true crime and education to comedy and business. Podcasting offers something unique, a connection. It's a platform where listeners can engage with content during their daily routines, whether it's commuting, working out, or even winding down after a long day. In fact, over 4.4 million podcasts are available today, and more are being added on the daily. The accessibility, convenience, and variety are why people continue to tune in. But it's not just the numbers that are growing. Podcast listenership is exploding across all demographics. More than half of all US adults have listened to a podcast, with younger audiences, particularly 18 to 34 years old, leading the charge. From entrepreneurs building brands to seasoned journalists sharing in-depth stories, podcasts provide a unique voice and unfiltered perspective that traditional media can't match. What makes podcasting so powerful is its ability to foster intimate connections. It's not just content, it's a conversation that listeners can take with them wherever they go. In this 3-part episode series, we take you behind the scenes of 3 unique podcasts from the Borderland area, offering an inside look at what it truly takes to create and produce a show. This series will feature an in-depth conversation with the host, discussing their journey, challenges, and creative process that goes into crafting content. From technical setups to personal stories, we explore the heart and the hustle behind the mic, shedding light on the vibrant podcasting scene of the Borderlands. Whether you're a podcast enthusiast or an aspiring creator, this series provides an inspiring and informative glimpse into the world of local podcasting. So sit back, crack a cold one. It's time to talk.
Battery. I had to learn about all this shit. I had no idea what it like a dummy battery. I had no idea like aperture and all this shit about cameras, and then about audio too. Like
Yeah.
I don't know I didn't know anything. I DJ'd
Mm-hmm.
growing up, so I knew about audio, and I thought that'll be enough. And like fuck no, like podcasting is like a way different other game. You know what I mean? It's like the recording of it all, and then the make sure everybody's levels are good.
Yeah.
And then if you have a video podcast, like you have to sync up the video to the audio. It's like
yep. I know all those struggles,
big
man.
ass. Like episode 1 through 3.
Yeah.
I was like, hell yeah, badass episode. I'm so excited about it, so stoked. And then as soon as I had to edit, I'm like, I don't want to fucking do this anymore. Like I was, because the editing was like the headache for me. Because I was like, it's not gonna come out the way I want it. And oh shit, the light. We left the fucking window open and the lighting makes it look all fucking blurry. And then, no, fuck it. And then like the next one I knew, okay, close the window. Okay, this time we're going to do this. And this time we're going to move the lights this way. Like you learn, but it is frustrating. Like it is like a battle of what the correct thing is, you know?
So whose idea was it for the podcast?
So I had thought about doing a podcast before we had talked about it, but he's the one who brought it up to me first, and he was like, "Hey, let's start a podcast." And I was already gonna do one with my best friend, but we had no idea what equipment we needed or anything. So I was like, "Oh, okay." I was like, "Yeah, I'll do it with you."
Okay.
And that he's all surprised that I was gonna do it, that I was like down to do it right away. But yeah, he was the one I guess who first brought it up.
Okay, but it was you originally wanted to do one?
Yeah, I originally did want to do it.
So what made you want to start a podcast?
The conversations that me and this person, like this specific friend would have, like we would get like really deep conversations, and it just seemed like an interesting thing to do, like because we would watch other people's podcasts and like other friend group podcasts and stuff, and it was just really funny. I've always been able to watch podcasts, not listen to them. So yeah.
So now that you've been doing it for almost a year, did it live up to what you thought it was going to be when you first started doing it?
Yeah, it did. But it's different because sometimes it's like it's really easy, and then sometimes it's like it's harder to like get the flow going. But yeah, it's more than what I thought it was gonna be.
that's a cool dynamic is that we're all 8-year difference. So Eric is 16 years younger than me. Sonny's 8 years younger than me. So like there's increments of 8. So we're all part of like a different generation, you know?
Mhm.
Like I'm a millennial, she's like a Gen Z, and then he's that new fucking
I don't even know
generation
what they're
that sucks.
called. Yeah.
The generation that ain't worth shit. No, I'm kidding. But but that's a cool dynamic is that Sonny will bring up something and I will have already like maybe gone through it or I've had something similar. So I kind of like talk about my experience and then she'll tell me why I'm wrong. And then that's kind of like the relationship we have. But it makes for like, I think it makes for good content because I always told people like, I wouldn't want to start a podcast with somebody I agreed with on everything. And I don't agree on anything with Sonny, really.
Yeah.
We've gone through like our fights and stuff. And this is kind of like what keeps us together is this podcast. You know what I mean? Because we think very differently. We make choices very differently. Not to say she's wrong, but she is. But she yeah, she's cut from a different cloth for sure.
Yeah.
And Eric is more like me, but he's got like his own little style too. He's got his own little thought process too.
What has your experience been like doing a podcast with your brother and your sister?
It's cool. I like it. It definitely builds a bond with my siblings.
Because I'm thinking, like, as a 14-year-old, not a lot of kids get to do this.
No, not really.
Do you ever talk to it about with like with your friends from school and stuff like that?
My friends watch.
Yeah.
Some of them like are really big fans of it. Actually,
Does that help with the girls?
not really.
I agree. Would you ever want to be on camera, other than right now?
Eventually, yeah, but I like being the sound guy too, like with the soundboard and everything. I think it's cool, and then I watch over like all the levels, all the voices, to make sure that everything runs smoothly and everything.
Do you ever help out with the editing?
No, that's Louis.
So I was telling Louis earlier that you guys have like really good chemistry, and I mean it helps that you're brother and sister.
Yeah.
Do you find it easier when it's like a siblings only episode than when you have actual guests?
It depends, because sometimes it does. Sometimes it does, and sometimes it doesn't. Like sometimes, like I feel like we have nothing to talk about
Mm-hmm.
because we save everything for the podcast. Like when we're out, like when our like at work and stuff.
Yeah.
We save everything for the podcast, but sometimes we talk about stuff too much, and then we come to the podcast and we're like, oh, we already talked about everything. So like to have to repeat everything, like sometimes it does suck, but it's interesting either way.
All right. So as far as like preparation goes, how much prep work do you put into each episode?
As soon as I know what guest I'm having, if we're having a guest, then me, Sonny, and Eric all share a note, like iPhone notes.
Mm-hmm.
And so throughout that whole week, we try to get a guest like Tuesday, the latest, if we know we're gonna have a guest. And then after that, we'll start like things that are going on, stuff we want to talk about. We kind of compile like lists, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I don't do anything. I just show up. I don't do anything. I show up and then I turn on the lights and that's it. Sometimes I get here first and I know how to turn that on. No, this one, and that's it. I don't know anything else. There's like a little like
light?
plug, yeah.
Okay.
That's the only thing I do.
Would you be like willing to learn more stuff, like more production stuff? Like, because I know like Louis does all the editing, and is that something that would interest you or not really?
I'm more the talent.
Okay.
I'd be interested in, like into learning like more about it,
Mm-hmm.
but I wouldn't want to do it all the time.
Welcome back.
What? Why?
What?
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 Why are these headphones right here?
Oh, dude, you guys were late, so I tried to set up your mic. Dude, I was running around like
We're
crazy.
not late.
My workplace.
I made it over here in
Your
6
workplace.
minutes.
Take the headphones off. You don't like them. Put them somewhere. Stick them up your butt if you want. I don't
Eric
care.
took his time, like getting into the fucking car.
Hey, how about that snow today?
Bro, it was snowing at my work all day.
Did
You got like 20 minutes of snow.
Would you consider it a lot of snow?
It snowed all day, but it melted.
How much snow in inches is like a lot of snow to you? Like for El Paso.
For El Paso, like an inch of snow, like 2 inches of snow.
2 inches of
2
snow?
3 inches of snow, yeah.
So 2 inches is a lot.
Pause.
That's what I was trying to get at, bro. If 2 inches of snow is a lot,
2
then
inches
what
of snow is fun.
wrong?
2 inches of snow is fun. 2 inches of whatever you're talking about is not fun.
God, come on, bro.
Well, here's a question for you guys. What does a podcaster do when they're not podcasting? Well, for the Zamorano siblings, it's digging graves and carving headstones. Sounds pretty badass, right?
So like your family, they've been in the headstone business, right? Or what would you describe what your family does?
Well, I mean, it's pretty much it's a bunch of things. My dad started when he was 16 years old here, digging graves, a grave digger. Then my grandpa was the one that was the one that was originally grave digging. Then he brought my dad with him. Then when my grandpa decided to retire, my dad just kept going, kept doing it. And they started off with digging just for the Jewish cemeteries, the ones that are on the other side of that wall there. Yeah. And then my dad hopped the wall and started helping out here and learning how things went back in the 70s. And he's been doing the grave digging and the maintenance of the Jewish cemeteries for over 40 some years now. And then back in the 90s, he wanted to open a headstone place. So, he started that. And then that's when I was, around. They started in 99. And I was, taking out the trash, sweeping up the office. And then I would see, the artists at the time carving the headstones and just kind of looking at them. And then when I turned like maybe 14, 15, I became like kind of like an apprentice. I would get the headstones on a cart, mat it, put the stencil on, and then the artist would just come and start carving it out, right? So then he would teach me what he knew. And then one day, the artist that we had for years, he just didn't show up for work anymore. And I still had orders to give out. I still had orders to get out. So I was like, I guess I have to do it now.
I like how you guys were able to merge like both worlds, like your daily job and your podcast into one.
Yeah.
You guys, like your theme, like the death in a hoodie.
Yeah.
That's very cool, very original.
Uh-huh. I think, to be honest with you, I don't think that was our intention.
No.
A lot of people think that was our intention. It's kind of like it's on the nose. I think we all have like all three of us have like an infatuation of like death, of like like what comes after life, and it literally was just like a random name, And then we started talking about. We talk about current events and topics that are like what we find funny, but just randomly as more and more episodes went by, we started talking about work and next thing you know, it's like it's merged with work. And it's like it happened organically. It wasn't like this is the plan from the start. It was just like, oh, okay, this is what it is now, and I kind of like it. I like that it's not all about work. I like that I touch on it, and then we touch on everything else. We want to keep it like as open as we can. I don't want to put ourselves in one little hole, one little peg. I kind of want to be able to talk about anything and everything.
Do you feel that doing the podcast has helped you to cope and deal with a lot of your daily stuff?
It's an outlet for sure. The biggest, the most fun outlet that we've had. Me, Eric, and Sunny look forward to coming up with different ideas, different things we want to talk about, because we kind of just leave our work at the door. We leave what's going on with the Zamoranos, with the headstone company at the door, and we just kind of do our thing. and you know, thank God that we're blessed that you know, our parents believed in what we were doing and they like what we're doing to like sponsor us, you know, to do that.
Yeah.
But it's just like it's our therapy in a way. Yeah.
Mhm.
A lot of the cool things, the reason why I've been enjoying asking other podcasts to come on is because I kind of want to learn how everybody like does it, because there's several ways.
Mhm.
You know, like that saying, there's more than one way to skin a cat.
Mhm.
Well, I mean, that's like a weird thing, right? Like, who the hell's skinning cats, and why is there more than one way to do it, right? But it does make sense when we were talking about like the podcast. Like, you know, you guys had like your intention of just, you know, bullshitting with your boys,
Mhm.
and we had our intention of just making funny content. You know, we just wanted to joke and be silly, and you know, and it ended up, yeah, sometimes we're silly, but there's other times where we're talking about important stuff, and people listen, and it makes you nervous. You know what I mean? You're like, holy shit, like people are paying attention. You know, random people that I didn't know watch the podcast will reach out to me like, hey, what you said last week was funny. I was like, whoa, you know, because you put it up there as like, I think you can relate. You put it up there and you're like, I don't know if anybody's gonna watch this thing.
Right.
And then you start hearing people say like, dude, that was cool, and that was really interesting what you guys were talking about. Like, you're like, and it makes you feel cool, makes you feel good. But yeah, when we first started off, I had no idea what the hell it was gonna be. It was just like, let's just make something funny, and if it goes viral, like that'll be a cool way to like, if we monetize, like I think the goal is to monetize eventually.
Mhm.
I think that's every podcast goal, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
But I said, but for now, you know, let's just have fun, and it's been fun, you know. But yeah, I had no idea what fun meant, you know. Dia de los Muertos just happens to be one of our biggest ones, because of the Mexican culture here. Everybody loves Dia de los Muertos, and so we have a little bit of live music, vendors, food trucks, and all of the money that's raised is donated back to beautifying the cemetery, keeping up with the weeds and keeping up with the, you know, hauling in dirt if we need to fix sunken graves and stuff like that, and you know, hiring outside people to make sure that the headstones are not leaning over and stuff like that, and so it's like, it's something that we give back. We don't gain anything out of making that festival.
Mhm.
But it means a lot because, you know, like my family's here. I'll be here one day.
Yeah.
And there's so much rich history. This is the heart of El Paso. And like a lot of times people don't really know how this gets kept up, you know? It's just kind of like something we do behind the scenes to help.
I mean, obviously, you know, parents are going to get older and God forbid one day they pass and all that. But when they do you plan on carrying the Zamorano legacy and continuing with the business?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the plan for now, you know? I feel like it's kind of always been the plan. I've left and come back
Uh-huh.
a couple times, you know, working. I sold cell phones and I worked at a factory and stuff like that. But I've always come back, you know, and then whenever I had like the weekends off, I'd help install headstones or do the funerals and stuff like that. So at the back of my mind, it kind of just seemed, since I was the oldest of the Zamoranos, that I just keep it going. But like, I'm not worried because it's not just me, you know. Sunny's gonna be part of it. She has her career as like a coach, but she gets off of there like at 4 o'clock, and then she comes to work and does her thing here. And she was just, you know, we just took a trip to Roswell to do a big installation, me,
Saw
Eric, and
that.
Sunny.
Yeah. You know what I was gonna say, dude? She was wearing her fucking slides while you're moving the headstone.
Yeah.
That's gotta be a
Yeah,
sick-
that's why we recorded it. I'm like, look at this idiot. Like, she
Yeah.
had her steel toe boots in the truck, and then she's like, I'll put them on later.
She's like,
And
I
I'm like,
got my Gucci sandals.
and
on.
yeah. And so I was like, just, that's not OSHA certified, I don't think. But yeah, man, it's just, you know, it's kind of funny because we have a sense of humor about it and stuff, but it's because somebody has to like do this stuff, you know what I mean?
And I think like doing this job, you have to have a sense of humor.
Yeah,
Because it's It's pretty depressing,
It's
man.
pretty depressing. Yeah. Like if I sympathized and really thought about every single client's situation, I'd be sad all the time. You know, just yesterday I had a woman come in buying a headstone for her son that passed away at 10 years old,
Shit.
you know? And when you sit and think about it, that's super sad. And it seems almost like it's unfair. But more than anything, like this job has kind of taught me that like life is kind of like unfair. You know, you kind of just work with the hands that you're dealt, and you know, the only person that knows when it's your time is above you. You know, I mean,
What would you guys say to any new podcasts that are coming up or people that are barely starting up a podcast? Some advice for them?
I think my favorite advice to give, because I got asked that already, but my favorite advice to give is just start, like with whatever you have. Like
Even with a phone.
if you have like your phone and you don't have mics, like just do it. Just record with your phones, and if the audio is not that good, you know, just speak louder until you get mics. You save up some money, you get some mics, and then you record off a laptop straight onto GarageBand. And that's how we started. And then you know, as you get more of a following, you get addicted to making the podcast better. So the upgrades come later, but the whole thing is like starting it. Like if I would have never just said, hey, this Sunday we're gonna record our first episode, this podcast would have never happened, because we were talking about it and talking about it for a few months, and then I was just like, fuck it. I bought like 2 mics with my credit card, and I recorded with my iPhone, and I said, okay, let's learn how to record on GarageBand. We bought a stupid little Timu podcaster thing that we literally used for like 2 episodes and never used it again because of how bad the quality was. But that's how we started, you know what I mean? Because we were just like, we want to get in front of the camera and get this thing going. So the best advice is just, if you're gonna do it, start now. Like just start with whatever you have. Don't give an excuse of, let me get better mics, let me get a better camera, let me get a better this. That comes later. Just start. Just start it, because I like when people start podcasts. I'm not against more people having podcasts. Like it's fucking fun, and it's like a outlet. It's like a stress relief. It's something that you can look forward to every week to do with your friends or your family or whoever you're gonna do a podcast with.
When you reached out
Yeah.
for the podcast.
Oh, dude, I couldn't stop laughing when you sent me when you sent me a photo of your mom's headstone. When you're like, hey, I know you guys sold me a headstone. I was like, oh, really? And then I said, which one? And then you just sent me a photo and you said, get ready to laugh. And you sent me that photo. And I was like, holy shit. I said, Mr. Lozano, the guy that was yelling at me. Yeah, no, but, and then I just thought, man, well, I'm happy we completed your order, you know? And at the end of the day, that's what's more important, right? So, but I'm glad, man. And stuff like that kind of like creates, you know, bonds. I have friendships that started with them just being our clients. I have friends that live in Fort Hancock that I talk to all the time. I have friends that live in Cruces, Anthony, like you guys, Fabins, like all over, just because we did work with them and I tried to have as nice of an experience as I could. And kind of being, you know, social like I am, I want to invite people to talk. And so I kind of thought when me and Sonny, you know, we're thinking about doing a podcast, I'm like, wow, I don't know when to shut up. Like, I think this is probably a good idea.
Yeah.
You're
definitely a natural at it, man.
Yeah, thanks, man. I really appreciate that. Yeah, it's been cool, man. I can't complain. It's been a fun experience, and it is very full circle. Like being here with you and kind of like you're saying, continuing on the legacy for my family. And I don't know what that legacy has for the future, but like I'm ready for whatever comes, you know. And if this podcast ends up taking off, like cool. But I don't think I'll ever leave the headstone place. I think I'll always have that going too, you know.
Pero la idea en sí de empezar el podcast fue de ustedes, güey. Ya me contactaron y ya como que nos animamos. Pero en sí desde el día 1 hemos estado trabajando como en la idea, ¿no? Realmente, porque desde un principio no teníamos muy definido de
Sí.
vamos a hacer
Nada,
esto y
güey.
vamos a seguir esto. Y creo que ya tenemos una idea más definida, pero pues no tanto.